Edmonton Oilers will close out their 4-game homestand with a meeting against the Dallas Stars for the third and final time this season. It's Pride Night down at Rogers Place as the Oilers look to keep treading water without both their superstars in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It's been a couple days. I missed you. Hello, what up, and welcome to Pregaming with Bordzy, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant, and as a presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app. Use the promo code NATION. All right, let's get caught up in the chat. It's been a couple days, like I said. I really enjoyed my couple days off. It's very rare. Well, I guess not even days off. I do Oilers Nation every day without Liam Horban, so I was into that duty. But whatever. It was nice without any couple games, but I did miss Austin. He says, let's fire it up, Bordzy. My ON fam, I am back from Saskatoon. He says, let's roll, baby. Cody's in. This made me laugh. He said, I'm ready for another 3-point game from Ryan Hugent Nobkins. All right. Clever way to start that one out. Could have used that as first comment, but you know Austin was there. Chris Knobloch's in bright and early as the boys getting prepared. Says Jeff Skinner on the third line. We are so back. We never left. Jay's in. J319 says heading to the game. See you there. Bring that pre-gaming energy into the building. Amanda, this one confused me. I'd much rather be going to the game than cleaning out my garage right now. It's 20 degrees here today. I understand complaining about cleaning out your garage. Complaining about 20 degrees, I will not allow at this point in time. I am incredibly jealous. Mr. Burns, let's go Oilers. This will be a huge win for the boys. Cup year. Been a couple days since I have been able to say that. Feels good. We are back. Kiana's in. Feels so good to have Oilers hockey back. Let's get the big orange dub. Cup year. Jay also is in the building, and he says, CC versus Nurse Scrap. Oh, the things I would do to see that. Old friends becoming foes. Sasky girl oil fan. Just got home from work. Cocktail poured. Supper in oven. Entertaining me. Coomzy, do you say supper or dinner?
I say dinner.
I think I used to say supper. I now say dinner for sure. Let me know in the chat. What do you say? Pat, I'm also curious what you say. Producer Pat behind the scenes tonight. Dylan, let's go Oilers. Cup year. Sadistic Angel, happy game day. Big dub incoming. Let's go Oilers. Got some love in here. Lance with a cup here. Mackay and Dries in says this is the test. Calvin Pickard from the bench says all my homies love Bordzy. I appreciate that. I hope my homies love me as well. And you know who I love is Coomzy. Cam Lewis joining me all evening long. Writer here at Oilers Nation. Coomzy, you're joining me from a padded room where you cannot do damage to yourself or anybody else. Just kidding. I do enjoy the new backdrop. But Coomzy, I hope you got your nap in. I told you I just had a 30-minute cat nap right before the show because I don't know if you know, the puck isn't expected to drop until 8:20 p.m. this evening. We got to do the post-game show after this one. We also both just joked that, of course, this game's going to end up going to overtime and keep us up super late. But Coomzy, how you doing? And did you squeeze a nap in earlier today?
I did squeeze a nap in. I knew this was going to be a late one, and I was like, to be honest, want to be in bed by 8:20 p.m., and this thing's going to be starting at 8:20 p.m., so I, at about noon, 12:30, decided I'm going to go lay down in bed for a quick little lunchtime nap and wound up falling asleep for 2.5 hours. So I should be nice and well-rested and well-energized for tonight. We don't have the same energy when we're not in the same room, like it's usually doing this in person. We're usually bouncing around, but now I am here in my padded room, which is a closet in the guest bedroom of my condo. It doesn't have the same vibe. I gotta get a wallpaper behind me here because just the white with the shadows makes me look a little insane.
I'll get you your own giant pregame with Bordzy flag.
Want to match the exact same
I'll
thing?
Find a way to get that done for you.
We should let's crowdsource into the chat what I should put behind me as a wallpaper.
Ooh, throw in your best ideas for Coomzy should put in as a backdrop that are legally appropriate. Because we got to have sponsors be able to do it as well. I got a million ideas running through my head. None of them appropriate of what we could do. So hopefully the chat can help us out. Also, good point. We talked yesterday. We were like, should we do it in studio or at home? And we were like, well, it's very late. And we tend to keep each other awake and very up as we go nuts when we watch in the studio. But tomorrow, We got a big day at Oilers Nation because what chaos is coming to town. In fact, they probably land in an hour or so, I do believe. I don't think Tyler's picking them up from the airport with the Nation truck, but it's the crossover you've all been waiting for. Oilers Nation X What Chaos. Tomorrow is going to be an awesome day. So What Chaos is getting to the office, I think, bright and early. I got to meet them there, get them all set up in the upstairs studio where we do Oilers Nation every day. They're going to do What Chaos, their regular time, 10 a.m. Mountain. Normally it's 12 Eastern. Sean, BJ, Pete, they're going to do it upstairs. Then Oilers Nation every day at 12. They're going to also join Ty, Liam, and myself. We might also be taking around town. We might be trying donaires out tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
They will try a donaire by the time
They have to.
If it doesn't happen then, it'll happen live on this show tomorrow when we are at Greta Bar Yeg downtown for an event that I am very, very excited for, presented by Fountain Tire. Tickets are $15 at nationgear.ca. Or I was given the responsibility earlier today that I was told I could give away 3 sets of 2 tickets. So 6 total tickets, 2, 2, and 2 to tomorrow's watch party with What Chaos. Now, I was thinking I could do fun trivia on this show today. I could do this. I could do that. The problem is you have to live in Edmonton and you have to be able to go to the event tomorrow at Greta. And you know what I love more than anything? We do it on ONE. I love the wheel. I love spinning the wheel of names. So if you are interested in watching right now and you want to come down to Greta tomorrow for the What Chaos event, don't want to spend $15, put your name in the chat. Just put What Chaos in all capitals so Pat can easily find it. We'll throw you in the wheel of names. And then at the very end of the show, we'll do Bordzy's bankroll. We'll spin the wheel 3 times because, as I said to Pat, the wheel is just, okay? The wheel is just. You can't get mad at me. You can't get mad at Oodle. You can't get mad at anything. You can't get mad at the wheel because the wheel is just. So throw them in the chat if you want to come down. I see them all in there. Justine, Lance, Colton, Mackay, and Dry. It is going to be an awesome time tomorrow, and I am very, very excited for it. Before we get in the Oiler talk, I should remind you also about Odd Company Nation Beer Everyday Lager. Perfect for game day, perfect for every day of the week. You can get them 2 Edmonton locations in the area, downtown or Ritchie location, or simply just check liquorconnect.com, find out which local liquor stores be carrying these bad boys. Not gonna lie to you, I got a couple of them in the fridge this evening. I took my pregame cat nap. I'm ready to crush some beers. Also tomorrow, should have some Odd Company Nation beer there. And just for a little vibe setter of what we're gonna get tomorrow, I think it was Monday on ONE, we were talking about just me and Ty. What are we gonna do for that one? We both looked each other dead in the eye. Me off camera, him on camera. And I said, are we getting after it on Thursday? Took about half a second of debate and then went, yeah, Bordzy, I think we're getting after it on Thursday. So be prepared for that tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome, awesome time. All right. Got all of that out of the way. Let's talk some Oilers. Coomzy, the boys be 1-0 in the life without McDry. So far, so good. Knock on wood. Saturday night, the Oilers, well, it was a little bit closer than you would have liked. They did beat the Seattle Kraken by a score of 5-4. Different close game than usual. That was actually the 9th straight time the Oilers have beat the Kraken. Usually those games not that close. And on Saturday night, Coomzy, it was the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins show. It was all about RNH. Scores 3 goals, the first hat trick by any Edmonton Oilers player this season. And it was Nugent's world, but there was a lot of other guys that stepped up as well. Adam Henrique scored a beautiful power play goal with the leg kick, looking extra handsome. Also saying maybe a reminder, Connor, just try that a couple times. Just rip that pill, see what happens. Jeff Skinner continues to be red hot. He scored one in the slot, assisted by Connor Brown on the 3rd line, as Chris Knobloch in the chat did point out earlier on the show. But the Oilers' defense in that game, pretty sound. I'll say goaltending, adequate is the word I will use, enough to get the Oilers the W. And yes, it was a 1-goal victory against the Seattle Kraken. I don't give a shit. Beggars can't be choosers, and that's exactly what the Oilers are right now. They're just trying to tread water without 97 and 29. But it was, we'll get into the specifics of an RNH here in just a second, but a lot of guys playing in different roles, a lot of guys stepping up. What'd you think of the Oilers' effort on Saturday night, grabbing 2 points against the Seattle Kraken?
Yeah, I mean, even though it's the Seattle Kraken, I think that's sort of what everybody thought after the win. It's going to be a completely different thing going up against the Dallas Stars here. Second best or third best team probably in the Western Conference, one of the better teams in the Western Conference, and the Seattle Kraken are well out of the playoff race. But any team you beat in the NHL when you're the Edmonton Oilers and you don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl is an impressive win, because it had been years since we had seen a game where the Oilers had played without both their two superstars. And people talk about the Oilers as being a team that's nothing without those two players. And I think they've proved otherwise over the past year and a half, couple of years or so. So I think this is a kind of a good opportunity with McDavid and Draisaitl out, because the Oilers aren't going to rush them back at this point of the season, even if that means losing home ice in the first round. The priority is having both those two players healthy for the playoffs. So there is a chance one or both winds up missing a handful of games here, and it's an opportunity for everybody else in the lineup to step up and play a larger role than what they've done in the past. You think about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins now centering what's become the top line, Adam Henriques jumping up into the top six. I think the game against Seattle was a step in the right direction, but this one against Dallas, we'll see. It'll be the bigger test for the players and what they can take on.
You got the W Saturday night. You saw some encouraging things. Also, just look at those point totals from our sweet, sweet boys. Also, was a little surprised when I saw plus 11 only for Connor McDavid this season. But when I think about it, it has been a down year for Connor McDavid, which is insane to say when his name is next to those numbers that you just saw on your screen. But Saturday was only one game, Coomzy, but I saw a couple things that were encouraging signs for the Edmonton Oilers. Just most notably, kind of what you touched on there, just depth players having to step up and play a much more notable role, different minutes, different roles, different spots in the lineup. And, maybe it could open up something at the right time of the year. Jeff Skinner looks like a completely different player than the beginning of the season. When you look at this guy, you go, he sat up there for double digits in the press box. Kind of wild. Nobby Jeff Skinner, keep it clean in the chat. You guys have been going after each other recently in the chat. Victor Arvidsson also starting to round into that playoff form, that, good player, offensive touch, but you sprinkle in a little bit of pest, a little bit of dick in there from him. And I like that as we head into the NHL playoffs. Vasily Podkolzin starting to look just comfortable is the word I use. Sean Panger was on the show on Saturday, and he had a point of, just the pressure of not playing with 29 or 97 could really be a weight off for a guy like Vasily Podkolzin. We're now seeing him rip pucks, drive pucks to the middle of the net, where normally we saw him deferring and passing off to 29, which I didn't have an issue with. But now I'm seeing this side of Vasily Podkolzin's game as we get closer to the NHL playoffs. That goal by Rico on Saturday, right? Gives you a little bit of a glimpse of the guy that scored 24 goals between the Ducks and Oilers last season. Then you mentioned him, and I did off the top. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. This doesn't describe any player better than RNH about having to take their spot and elevate their play, man. In the last 4 games, he has told the Oilers, hop on my back, Greg Jennings style, if you get that reference. I appreciate you. 9 points in his last 4 games. Scored a hat trick in the last one. And on Saturday, he played over 23 minutes of time on ice in that hockey game. Now he's manning the first line as a center. He's gone from first line winger to third line defensive center, second line center. Okay, now run this entire team. He's now in the puck transporter role of 97 on the power play. He's still manning the penalty kill like he always does. And the fact of the matter is, he's doing all of these roles pretty damn, I will use the word great right now from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He's out there in crunch time, and right? I don't want this to get taken out of context. You never want your star players to get injured. I want Leon Draisaitl to win that Hart Trophy more than anyone because I got a plus 450 ticket. But there might be some bright spots in here if 12 games before the NHL playoffs, these guys who have struggled for much of the season, I'll say production-wise, start to find their game in different roles. They get it rolling. Now they have to, when 97-29 come back, these guys fall down a little, but their game is still rolling. Coomzy, do you kind of subscribe to my blessing in disguise theory? Because for some of these players, it has been.
I think so, yeah. I think that is I think it's the sort of what we saw down the stretch last season as well. I mean, it wasn't a great start to the season this year for Jeff Skinner. It wasn't a great start for Victor Arvidsson either. Think about, Skinner coming in out of the lineup, and then Arvidsson couldn't seem to be healthy. There was that injury that lasted way longer than anybody thought. But think about last season with Connor Brown joining the Oilers on that 1-year contract, and he struggled, didn't score his first goal for months, and then all of a sudden down the stretch into the playoffs looks like a completely different player. So I think that's sort of where the Oilers are finding themselves now. There's players that didn't have great looks in the beginning of the season, were kind of inconsistent in the middle, but now that they've had that time and they familiarized themselves with the team, they're kind of hitting their stride as the playoffs come. And I do think that, like you said, a little bit of a blessing in disguise, as long as this doesn't turn into McDavid and Draisaitl being gone for 2-3 weeks or something. It's a blessing in disguise if it's 3 or 4 games for everyone to kind of play one spot higher in the lineup and see what they can take on.
It's a blessing in disguise if both 97 and 29 are in T-Mobile Arena when I'm in Vegas for the nation vacation. I will be selfish with this. This is all I've had my eyes on. Yes, I would love them to be in the BOA Saturday, but it's not really looking like that's going to happen. So as for updates regarding Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, Jason Gregor reported yesterday that we would not see McDavid or Draisaitl for this week's 3 games, meaning tonight versus Dallas, tomorrow versus Seattle Kraken, back-to-back will be at Greta. Throw in all capitals, what chaos in the chat if you want to come. And then Saturday against the Calgary Flames is giving us a glimpse of hope that they will be playing for the nation vacation. But then we got another update earlier today when Leon Draisaitl decided to step on the ice for morning skate. Now, he didn't partake in any line rushes. He didn't partake in any power play drills or anything like that, but he was out there on the ice skating around, and that is a good sign regardless. That's a Zach Hyman's last 3 games. Shout out to Zach Hyman as well.
He is thriving.
Hey, he's also red hot. Should we bet on Zach Hyman? Look at those shot props. Maybe a little bit later on. Nobby gave an update after practice today, though, where he said, and I'll quote to you here, Leon will be back sooner than Connor. Inside a week for Leon, Connor will be longer. Shout out to Jason Gregor for this. Shout out to Pat, also behind the scenes, doing his best as I jerk him around all over the place throughout this. So that gives me more hope that 29 is going to be on the ice when we're in Vegas for the nation vacation. And right, with Leon Draisaitl, we don't know what the injury is. It still just says undisclosed with everything. Connor McDavid is technically a lower body injury. Once again, do we actually know what the injury really is? No. But for Leon Draisaitl, we saw when he got injured, I believe it was against the Utah Hockey Club. He stayed in that game. It was a 5-goal lead in the second period. He stayed in, played more minutes than any forward because he was trying to get that 50th goal of the season. Because remember, before Leon got injured, he was tearing up the NHL, dude, at 49 goals, 18-game point streak. This has thrown a wrench into my Hart Trophy bet. I've already brought it up twice. I'm sorry, but Leon Draisaitl would be it's an understatement, a massive boost to this team if he came back, especially before that Vegas game. But thoughts on the updates we got here? Clearly quicker for Leon. Connor will be over a week.
Yeah, it was sort of like a good news / bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? And they also tacked on something at the end here, which was sort of not really, most people sort of just went over everyone's head when talking about McDavid and Draisaitl in the morning skate and this and that. But there's talk now that Trent Frederick's not going to be skating with the team for at least a couple of weeks, I believe it said. So there's only 3 weeks left in the regular season. If he's not even going to be skating, then maybe we're suddenly talking about Trent Frederick and Evander Kane not being ready for the playoffs. But it is positive that Leon Draisaitl seems to be around the corner. Maybe there's a possibility he plays on Saturday against Calgary. That's probably unlikely, but I think everyone's looking at him being back for that Vegas game. The Connor McDavid one is a little bit more worrying, though, because even though that's not the undisclosed injury, it's the one that feels a little bit more vague and a little bit more worrying, because we all saw in that Winnipeg Jets game that nasty cross check he took from Josh Morrissey on the Jets. So you kind of worry about what that actually looks like. And you just hope that this is short term, like they talked about, but you just really never know with the Oilers when they talk about injuries and how long they're going to last. Because remember earlier in the season, Arvidsson, he wound up being gone way longer than expected. The Evander Kane stuff, the timelines changed 6 times probably since September when he had his first go of surgery. So, I mean, impossible to say what's happening, but you like the update on Leon Draisaitl at least.
That was kind of how I felt when I read that. I was like, oh, very first one, sick. Leon's on the ice. He's going to be back soon.
And it goes.
Oh, wait, Connor McDavid's going to be out for a little bit. And then they tried to just sneak in at the bottom there that, oh,
Or
yeah,
trade
that guy
deadline
that we
acquisition
acquired,
might never play for the team.
the guy that's, that we acquired here at the trade deadline. Like you mentioned there, it might be Kaner and Frederick both coming for the NHL playoffs. The words there, the wording saying that he has resumed skating, but not with the team. I mean, who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, because as you kind of alluded to there, the Oilers all season have just been very, and I get it, I'm totally in favor of it, but they've been very hush-hush about the injuries behind the scenes. For me personally, keep out 97 as long as you need to prioritize health. I really do think the Oilers are doing the right thing here, because pretty locked in that you're going to be playing the LA Kings here. It just depends on home ice. Will they, won't they? If it means Connor McDavid being fully healthy, I would rather play game 7 on the road, so that I know he's at as close to 100% as possible. And speaking of the Pacific Division standings, why don't we just do an update right now? Because the Oil, they're a little bit tough right now. They can tread water, but it really kind of feels like neither Vegas or the LA Kings are ever going to lose another hockey game again. Pat, if you want to pull it up here for us on the screen, you get a look. The Edmonton Oilers, this is heading into tonight. The Oilers is 7 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights. They're at 94. The Oilers at 87, and they're 2 back of the LA Kings. Oilers and Kings each have 12 games remaining, while the Oil and Kings each have a game in hand over the Vegas Golden Knights. Like I mentioned, feels like the other teams don't stop winning. Well, last night, the Vegas Golden Knights beat Minnesota by a score of 5-1. And the LA Kings beat the Rangers by a score of 3-1. Neither team is going to be in action tonight. So that means these 2 points up for grabs for the Edmonton Oilers are big time this evening. And for me, Coomzy, I am still dreaming of a Pacific Division title, but it might just in fact be that dreaming, because I am going to Vegas for that one. But the real sights are set on that number 2 seed against the LA Kings. Feels like a foregone conclusion that the Oilers and Kings will meet for the 4th time in a row. There's some guy in our chat that keeps bringing up that he thinks the Oilers are going to fall out of 3rd in the Pacific and the Calgary Flames are going to pass them. Can you tell him when it's that's absolutely batshit nuts? And I do not understand that. But we're getting to crunch time here, dog, as we get down the rest of the season. Only 12 games to go, including tonight. We got 1 against Vegas, 2 against the LA Kings, 3 of which will be against the San Jose Sharks. We are officially in crunch time standings watching season. And before you know it, dude, it's going to be the NHL playoffs, which is crazy to me, because it feels like we just finished the NHL playoffs. I feel like I just lost game 7 inside Greta, and we're going to be back in no time. But thoughts on the Oilers Pacific Division chase?
I think I'll say the Flames could be reasonably within striking distance of the Oilers if they win that head-to-head against Edmonton on Saturday, and the Oilers lose both of these games in the back-to-back against Dallas and Seattle, because right now both those teams are at 70 games played, so 12 games each, and Calgary's 8 points back, and they don't have the regulation wins or anything to win in a tiebreak. So I think that's a pretty significant thing for them to overcome. It's also notable that if the Flames and Canucks get their shit together, we could potentially have all 7 Canadian teams in the playoffs. It's also possible that one of those teams and one gets in, one misses, and we wind up having all but one Canadian team in the playoffs, which would be hilarious. But yes, circling back to the Oilers in the Pacific Division, the Golden Knights now, just given the injuries to McDavid and Draisaitl, it feels like a bit of a stretch. It feels like a bit of a dream at this point. It's always possible. They play Vegas once, you win that game in regulation, win a few more games than them down the stretch. Sure, maybe you can win the Pacific, but it seems very unlikely. What is still up for grabs is the Kings and the Oilers separated by 2 points, same amount of games left, and they play each other twice, once in Los Angeles, once in Edmonton. So that's still completely up for grabs, while the Oilers are in 3rd place right now, and they're staring down the barrel of these injuries. They definitely kind of control their own destiny here. 2 different wins against the Kings in April, and you'll probably be hosting that playoff series in the first round.
It's going to be fun as we get down to checking these standings every morning before I go to bed. The NHL playoffs are just around the corner. I'm getting excited. Speaking of the playoffs, The Dallas Stars, they're going to be in the NHL playoffs this year. Last year's Western Conference runner-up. That's who the Oil are hosting down at Rogers Place this evening. And it's kind of similar, right? The Stars are in a very similar spot as the Oilers. Feels like a foregone conclusion. The Winnipeg Jets are going to win the Central Division. And it seems like a foregone conclusion that the Stars are going to take on the Colorado Avalanche. It's just about who's going to get home ice advantage in that first round series there. You got to look at the Eastern Conference there as well. But Dallas, they've loaded up their roster for a playoff run, right? They obviously acquire one Mikko Rantanen, kind of shipping out some youth in one Logan Stankoven. I think it's no matter how bad, whatever anyone can say that Mikko Rantanen is tearing apart the Hurricanes and he's tearing apart the Stars. It's Mikko Rantanen. We would have done anything to acquire him as well. That's just what you do, right? They also added Mr. Game 7, Cody Ceci on the Dallas Stars, as well as Mikael Granlund. So look out for that. Looking for that Nurse Ceci scrap later tonight. That would be absolutely electric. Now, like I said, hasn't gone great for Mikko Rantanen. But since the Stars have acquired him, the Stars keep winning hockey games. I think since January 24th, they have the best record in the NHL. In their last 10 games, they're 6-2-2. They've won 2 straight, and they've actually grabbed points in 5 straight hockey games. Ain't nothing ever going to be easy against these Dallas Stars, Coomzy. Definitely without 97 and 29, but we played a lot of puck against these Stars recently. We obviously remember 6 games, the Western Conference Final last season. They played right after the NHL trade deadline in Mikko Rantanen's first game. But thoughts on the matchup tonight? Don't know if I got to bring it to everybody, but the Dallas Stars really, really good at hockey this season. Going to be a tough one tonight.
Yeah, this is a very difficult game, and I mean, the Oilers aren't at full strength, and the Stars aren't at full strength either. I mean, the Stars right now are missing a couple of key players. Tyler Seguin, of course, long-term injured reserve. He had hip surgery. He's going to be out for the entire regular season, might not be back for the playoffs, might join them at some point in the playoffs. Hard to say there. And then Miro Heiskanen, I believe he has a knee injury, and he's been out since I think it's January. So that's their top defenseman they're missing there. But Thomas Harley, who played for Canada at the Four Nations, sort of, I guess, a relatively unknown player by a lot of fans coming into that tournament, kind of became a little bit more known for a solid play up for Team Canada in that tournament. Yeah, those are the couple of players that Dallas is missing. It's not the same as missing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, but it is still the Stars not at full strength. So, I mean, again, like we've already said a handful of times, this is the real huge test for the Oilers they have in this handful of games without McDavid and Draisaitl. If they could manage to take down the Stars and do so with Nugent Hopkins and Adam Henrique as their top 2 centers, then you feel very good about your depth going into the playoffs. But I think with this one, we're not really sitting here looking at, oh, anything less than a win is a disappointment. I think what you're trying to do in this game is keep it close, keep it interesting, don't let the Dallas Stars just roll in and come into Edmonton and just beat the wheels off of you guys because the top 2 players aren't playing. Make it an interesting game and make it clear that the Oilers aren't just a 2-man show.
Compete in this hockey game. And once again, like, dude, if we saw, I know I'm hoping and I'm dreaming here, but an awesome Stuart Skinner performance tonight against this Dallas Stars offense would go a long way. And people, you might think that's crazy. Well, he did it last year in the NHL playoffs. More on that a little bit later. Let's go now to our need to know information, courtesy of Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn that sweet, sweet Wilhauk name. Made from a 100% pure Alberta beef. Their jerky is aged, seasoned, smoked, and marinated to savory perfection. They gladly fill orders of any size, and you can find their jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location. For more information and to get yo jerky on, head to WilhaukBeefJerky.com. So this final game of a 4-game homestand for the Edmonton Oilers, 2-0-1 so far. Pretty damn good, all things considered. 7-1 win over Utah Hockey Club, 4-3 OT loss to Winnipeg, and a 5-4 win over the Seattle Kraken. Host Dallas tonight. Then they're on a quick plane for a back-to-back 8 p.m. start tomorrow in Seattle. Once again, comment what chaos, all capitals in the chat, if you want to come to that party tomorrow. BOA on Saturday. And then me and the crew heading out to Vegas for the nation vacation. A lot of really good games here in the next week and a bit. So this is going to be an exciting stretch. As for the Oil and Stars, 3rd meeting this season. Both teams have held serve at home. Dallas beat the Oilers 4-1. back at home in October, I do believe. While Edmonton beat Dallas 5-4, the game right after the NHL trade deadline. Now, it was a late push from the Dallas Stars. The Oilers had a considerable lead in that hockey game, and then things got a little dicey, got a little scary there in the third period, but Stuart Skinner, much like Game 6, stood tall in that one. This will be the second game without Connor and Leon, both of them. Neither expected to play this week. So there is going to be one change to the lineup, though, or I guess just movement in the lineup, as Kasperi Kapanen is going to enter the top 6 to play with Adam Henrique and Zachary Martin Hyman. That was a spot occupied by Corey Perry before. He then moves down to the fourth line, playing the wing there, as you see it on your screen. A shout out to our boy Bob Stauffer, the Bob Father. And then we expect it to be Stuart Skinner in the crease, meaning Calvin Pickard will go tomorrow against the Seattle Kraken. Stu goes 24th win on the year. If he wins tonight, would be 25. He's also won each of his last 2 starts. So Stu, we're building something here. Damn it, I do believe. For the Dallas Stars, they own a 45-21-4 record. Shit, that is good. 6-2-2 in their last 10. Second in the Metro, 94 points in 70 games played. They're 3 points up on Colorado, while Dallas has 2 games in hand. I mentioned it. They got Rantanen, they got Ceci, they got Mikael Granlund, but this team, dude, is just, it's just incredibly deep. It's incredibly loaded. You look through their roster and what it is. Rantanen leads the team in points with 75 and 70. But they're just stupid deep. That's the only word I can use. Jason Robertson, 29 goals. Matt Duchene, 27. Wyatt Johnson, 26. Rupe Hintz, 25. Mason Marchment, 18. Mikael Granlund, 18. Jamie Benn, 16. Evgeny Dadonov, 16. Thomas Harley from the back end has chipped in 15 goals as well. They score a lot. Pat, if you want to throw up the head-to-head, the tail of the tape, the comparison between these two teams, because the Stars, they are very good in most major statistical categories. They rank 5th in goals per game, as you see on your screen here, 3.4, better than the Edmonton Oilers. They also rank 4th in goals against per game at 2.6 there. Their power play is slightly above average. I'm not going to make a joke there, at 22.5%. But then you look at their penalty kill. Well, that 85.0 is number 1 in the NHL this season. Didn't feature any power play points in Bordzy's bankroll tonight because I'm not feeling very confident without 97 and 29. Finally, we expect it to be one Jake Ottinger in the crease. 33-15-3 record, 249 goals against, 909 save percentage, and he's won his last 3 starts in a row. Let's go now to our Sherwood Ford Giant storyline, brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giants. Come on, they got their Awesome Nation valet. Oh, Tammy throwing in a little pregame super chat, I see as well. Shout out Sherwood Ford, the Giant for a reason. Use their Awesome Nation valet service, where if you need to get any services done to your car, like an oil change per se, but you don't want to take the time to drop it off, they will come to your home. They will come to your office. They will grab your keys from you, drive it to the dealership, do whatever needs to be done. They will drive that bad boy back to you by the end of the day, and you can drive home like nothing happened at all. Shout out to Sherwood Ford, the Giant for a reason. Before I give my storyline, we've actually got some fast facts courtesy of our friends from Sherwood Ford. Pat, hit it for me.
My boy Bouchard has scored 9 points in the last 10 games versus Dallas. He's charged up.
Did you know that Zach Hyman had 2 goals and 1 assist the last time these 2 teams met? Do you think he can do it again? I think so. Let's go!
So these 2 teams have played twice this season, and both have won their home games. So bring it home. Let's go, Oilers!
There you go. There you go, David. I see the chat already. Where is Giant Mike? He's become a hit in the chat on Oilers Nation every day because he commits. The last time he whipped his glasses off. Shout out the crew from Sherwood Ford, the Giant, because they have fun with these videos, and I appreciate it every day when we get them sent to us. Intern Reese makes them, and I go, no, don't show me until we actually play. I load it into the system and everything, but I do not watch it, which is dangerous. Wouldn't recommend doing that for live production, but they haven't screwed me so far.
We trust him. We trust Sherwood Ford, the Giant.
Yeah, we trust David. Come on. The guy like that, looking like that at the very end. Come on, you trust him. He's that trustworthy grandfather figure. My storyline tonight, really, Coomzy, like we said, is just find a way to win. I do not care. I do not need it to be pretty. It can be ugly. It can go extra time. Try to find a way to compete in this game. Keep it close, because obviously this is one of the toughest tests this season. You take on the Stars at any point with a fully healthy, loaded squad, it's going to be a big test. But you do it without 97 and 29, you are going to be in tough. Asking a lot of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, asking a lot of Adam Henrique. But we know these dudes are fully capable of doing it. Stuart Skinner gave an interview last week of saying, hey, dude, don't ever need to remind you, this is an incredibly veteran squad here that we have. This team has a shit ton of experience in every situation. We have the guys in the room that can handle it regardless of what the lineup is going to look like. My key to victory, if I were to be honest, without 97 and 29, it's been and it will continue to be play a simple game, but specifically smart, simple defense. No turnovers in your own end. Clear it out. Throw it in the neutral zone if you must, because we played a lot of hockey against these Stars in the last 365 days. We've seen some track meets go up and down the ice between these two teams where whoever turns it over in the neutral zone and has a back-breaking error has an odd man rush going back the other way. And breaking news, both teams incredibly loaded in the forward group, so they can make you pay. I think tonight, just play it simple. Low event would be my strategy and try to win it with a man advantage. Who knows? Try and do a greasy ones in front of the net. Don't really like the Oilers' chances in a shootout in the sense of like a 6-5 game tonight. I don't know about that one. Coomzy, you got a storyline or a key to victory for me this evening?
Yeah, my storyline. This is something I pointed out on the game notes on the website because Mikko Rantanen made his Dallas Stars debut right after the trade deadline when the Oilers hosted the Stars a few weeks ago. And the Oilers spoiled that debut with the win. And Rantanen, kind of like when he went to Carolina, really hasn't been that good as a member of the Dallas Stars. Of course, since that huge contract, he's only put up 5 points in 8 games since. And the Stars over that stretch have gone 4-2-2, and their wins were against the Canucks, Ducks, Flyers, and Wild. So you look at kind of what Dallas is doing in that stretch, and it's probably not what you'd like to see happen after the trade deadline when you give up what they gave up and paid Rantanen what they paid. Because you also look at the Avalanche. They traded Rantanen, of course, to Carolina in late January, and then Carolina flips him to Dallas. But Colorado, since making that trade where they got Martin Necas and Jack Drury in return for Rantanen, they've gone 16-6-1, and they've pulled themselves to within just a few points of Dallas in that Central Division race. So it would really be something if Colorado jumped ahead of Dallas in the standings and they were the home team hosting in that series, and Rantanen had to go back and play 4 games in Colorado with the Avs being the home team.
That's a storyline that I am looking forward to seeing. I would love to see that. Also, Lance pointed out in the chat right now, what did he say? Basically, this chat has just become, this chat has gotten out of hand with just fake player accounts talking to each other. Everyone's really committed to their alter egos in these chats. It's getting out of control. But do I see Giant Mike is now in the chat as he says, guys, you should all be focusing on the game at hand. And we can focus in on the Edmonton Oilers projected lineup this evening. So, Pat, pull it up for me here if you got it. What we expect the Edmonton Oilers to look like this evening, because the top line, it's been his world, and we are just living in it. It's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins centering Vasily Podkolzin and Victor Arvidsson, a trio that has looked better and better with each and every game as we get closer to the NHL playoffs. Your second line, where we do see a change, Kasperi Kapanen manning that second line left wing spot with Adam Henrique and Zach Hyman. Third line, Nobby, you're in the chat. I know you approve. Jeff Skinner, third line with Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown, a trio that, I'll be honest, last pregaming, I said, this makes no sense to me. Why would you put Jeff Skinner scored 2 goals with Matthias Janmark? But Jeff Skinner elevated the play of both Janmark and Connor Brown. I thought that trio was fantastic. Not a huge stats guy, not a huge nerd guy, but their expected goals for in that game was 76%. So that's a big enough of a number that I went, okay, they were dominating. My eyes were not deceiving me. The fourth line, Maximum Jones with Derek Ryan and Corey Perry. Trent Frederick might not be playing in the regular season. Well, at least we got Maximum Jones. Once again, expect him to play, 6 minutes in this hockey game? Your D pairings, Ekholm with Bush, Nurse with Jake Wallman, and Brett Kulak with Troy Stetcher once again, meaning Ty Emberson will sit out this evening again. I believe this is his, I want to say, 4th straight game in a row. In Coomzy, it'd be shocking to tell you that in that time frame, Brett Kulak Hasn't gotten a block in that time. He has not gained a lead whatsoever on Ty Emerson. Only Jake Wallman is closing in on both of us, but that is neither here nor there. When I think about the Oilers lineup tonight, and really, it was my key to victory on Saturday. I had one word for key to victory. I said Nuge, because he needed to put that team on his back. That's exactly what he did on Saturday, and we might need a similar performance. There you get a look at it. 69 games played this season. Nice. 20 goals, 28 assists, 1855. He's got 9 points in his last 5 games, as you see there, and he's playing a completely different role. I mentioned it earlier. He's the Swiss Army knife of everything. First line winger, third line defensive center, playing with Brownie and Janmark and whoever at that point. And he gets upgraded to second line center. Okay, I need a little bit more offense. Okay, now you're first line, and I need you to do absolutely everything. He was awesome in that last game. He's pretty much just delivered in every aspect, and it's been an up and down year for Nuge. Sometimes this happens with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, where he's extremely cold, then he's extremely hot. So he might just be riding the roller coaster right now. Either way, I don't care, because he is stepping up big when his team needs him to, Coomzy.
Yeah, I think there was probably 3 or 4 players you look at as ones who the Oilers really need to have step up if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl aren't available. The first 2 that come to mind are the two $5 million, $5.5 million players on the team, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman. Those are 2 guys who just need to come through for the Oilers as their top players if there's no McDavid or Draisaitl. And then after that, it's Adam Henrique and Victor Arvidsson as well. Those are also 2 players who make a good amount of money. I believe Henrique is 3.25 and Arvidsson's $4 million. So those are guys the Oilers need to have come through. I think the way they've kind of structured the lineup here isn't to have 1 or 2 top heavy lines. It's to kind of stretch things out. You have Corey Perry on the 4th there with Derek Ryan and Max Jones, put some size in the wings with Ryan, who's the smallest guy among their forwards. Corey Perry can score goals in his own on that line, possibly. Jeff Skinner, like you said, it looked like a really weird combination having him go with Janmark and Brown, and Janmark being the center, but he does wind up scoring a goal last game, so that's something. You need an offensive player to kind of drag those guys up the ice a little bit. And then Kasperi Kapanen, it's sort of an interesting fit next to Adam Henrique and Zach Hyman. Not really sure what to expect there, but it's been a while since Kasperi Kapanen made himself noticeable or was relevant for the Oilers. So the playoffs are coming up in a couple of weeks, and Kapanen's only going to have so many chances because McDavid and Draisaitl, you assume, are going to be back in the lineup. Maybe Kane, maybe Frederick. If you're a guy like Kasperi Kapanen, same thing goes if you're a Max Jones or a Derek Ryan. These are sort of your chances to prove that you are relevant to the Oilers and can be in the lineup. So you expect it from Nugent-Hopkins, Arvidsson, Hyman, Henrique. That's who you expect to step up in a situation like this. But you also look for it from guys like Kapanen or Podkolzin and maybe playing more minutes, Max Jones, somebody like that, playing more minutes than they usually would. And this is probably their opportunity late in the season to put themselves on Chris Knobloch's radar.
I'm trying to look for a Kapanen anytime goal scorer because, right, I don't know what he'll bring there. I just think, what's the biggest difference between Kasperi Kapanen and Corey Perry? I'd say foot speed, and I think Kapanen, that's something he can bring on that second line and maybe try and push the pace a little bit there. Because also in that last game Saturday, a lot of trios were good. That Hyman, Rico, and Perry line got absolutely caved in defensively. So I think there was a change that was necessary to happen. We did see it earlier on the screen. Zach Hyman's heating up right now. He's got 3 goals, 5 points in his last 3 games. He has 15 shots on goal in his last 3 games. So I didn't throw that in the bankroll, but honorable mention if you want to go with Zach Hyman shot prop. You might be feeling pretty good about that one right now. He's up to 25 goals on the season, so 30. Feeling attainable for one Zachary Martin Hyman. The other guy that's been hot offensively lately has actually come from the back end in one, Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse has back-to-back 2-point games for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's kind of had his ups and downs, I'll say, defensively lately. And I would only say, like, he's had some bad pinches, right, and some bad moments clearing the front of the net that have been a little noticeable. But I'd argue that it's noticeable because Darnell Nurse has been playing a shit ton of hockey for the Edmonton Oilers lately. Over his last 11 games, Darnell's leading the Oilers in ice time at 23:47 per night, 201 of that average being on the penalty kill. In the Oilers' last game, he led everybody in ice time, him and Jake Wallman. Bouchard and Ekholm both didn't even touch 20 minutes. We're seeing a little bit of chemistry being built here between Darnell Nurse and Jake Wallman. We still do see Brett Kulak play with Darnell Nurse as well. My line always, Nobby, it's depth chart's just a recommendation because he's going to be switching that thing up all game long. But right now, it's kind of been, Ekholm's been sick, right, for a month. Bouchard, who I do think has been much, much better, regardless of whether or not the fans want to admit it or not, still had a brutal error on Saturday, but live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing. Darnell Nurse has just quietly been incredibly consistent all year long, playing big minutes, munching them in crunch time as well, blocking shots like a madman. And as I said, Coomzy, back-to-back 2-point nights from the doctor coming into this one.
Yeah, Darnell Nurse, I mean, he had that play against Winnipeg in the overtime loss that was pretty bad, pretty glaring, pretty noticeable. But I think all in all lately, given how much he's been playing over the past few months with, like you mentioned, Ekholm dealing with the illness, they bring in Jake Wallman ahead of the trade deadline. But Darnell Nurse, I think if fans are noticing that he's not as strong defensively, or if he's had more turnovers lately, I think that's more of just a testament to how good he was in the previous stretch of the last few months. Before that, he really was the team's #1 D-man for at least a month, few weeks, probably that stretch around the Four Nations when Ekholm was sick. He took over and was the team's top defenseman for that stretch. So I think this is definitely the strongest season we've seen from Darnell Nurse since he signed that long-term contract. And even if he has some gaffes here and there, like we saw in that game against Winnipeg, you know, there was a lot going on in that game with losing Connor McDavid to the injury. Leon Draisaitl was already out with the injury. Stuart Skinner came out of that game. So lots going on there. I wouldn't hyper focus on the errors that Nurse has had lately, given how many good minutes he's given the team.
And like, I'd argue once again, and it's been funny because the chat used to just to want to destroy Darnell Nurse nonstop, like head on a stick after every game. But for much of last season and most of this season, the Darnell hate has been quiet, to say the least. Now it was right around this time last year when it did start to fall apart, but that is neither here nor there. Let's move now to the starting goaltender report, brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. With a $50 bi-weekly ATV, or be on a boat next summer for as low as $105 bi-weekly. As I always say, if you're planning on buying a boat, you have to let me know so then me and you can become best friends, because I want to hang out on a boat this summer. You can get that done at Sherwood Power Sports Marine. They also got all kinds of awesome stuff, ATVs, quads, scooters, e-bikes, you name it, they got it over there. And it is going, or I can tell you, it's going to be awesome. They'll get you a great deal. So this evening, we have confirmed one Stuart Skinner in the crease for the Edmonton Oilers. And I do believe, I'm just looking, have we gotten confirmation on one Jake Onger? Here's the head-to-head of them this season. One considerably better than the other, but this is a goaltending battle. There's nothing new for both of these teams. You look at these numbers. Yes, Stuart Skinner, not great. .895 save percentage, .287 goals against. Meanwhile, Onger, below 2.5 goals against, just under 910. Pat, I do believe we have another graphic in there that shows their numbers during the 6 games during the NHL playoffs last season when they went head-to-head in the Western Conference Finals, because this is the Stuart Skinner that I think I'm going to need to see tonight for the Edmonton Oilers to grab 2 points, right? We know it's in there, all right? We've seen it before. Now, I'll be honest, we have really barely seen it this year. It's been very up and down the roller coaster through and through. But damn it, I believe that he's going to pull it out during this stretch. Also, if you guys know who Scott Van Pelt is from like the USA Sports Center, he's the bald guy with the glasses. Shout out to him, because he was on Pardon My Take earlier today, and I was listening to it and it kind of broke my glass. He had said this about sports, like, right, sports are supposed to be fun, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you either have a choice to be optimistic or pessimistic when it comes to a player like this. And I went, are you talking about Stuart Skinner directly to me? Because in my head, I went, I choose to be optimistic. Damn it. I can choose to sit here and be negative and tell you all the reasons why I don't think it's going to happen. But who's that fun for? Sports is supposed to be fun. Let's believe, damn it, in Stuart Skinner. So I'm going all on full out optimism from here till the rest of the season, because frankly, we don't have another choice, people. Coomzy, thoughts on the goaltending battle tonight?
Yeah, if you're watching sports and you're banking on the worst case scenario happening over and over again, you're going to be right a lot of the time, but you're never going to have fun. It's just, it's not going to be an experience I know this has kind of become a thing that's gotten dunked on a lot in the social media era, thanks to like new takes or old takes exposed and whatnot. But sometimes it's funner just to be optimistic and think the best things are going to happen than it is constantly pointing out what, basically what the most likely outcome is. Anyways, just a rant, but I think the performance that Stuart Skinner had last year against Dallas, that 6-game win in the Western Conference Final, specifically in Game 6 when the Oilers got outshot like 40-10 or whatever it was, and they won that game. Skinner was ridiculously good in that series, especially in that winning game. And this is the randomness of sports. Like you have Skinner, who has an up and down season. He's fine. You go into the series against Vancouver, he's dealing with an illness or whatever it was, and looked terrible. They had to bring in Cal Pickard. Then all of a sudden, a week or two later, he faces the Dallas Stars, who you think are better than the Vancouver Canucks, and he's a complete wall. He's unbeatable. So I think that version of Stuart Skinner is sort of what ultimately earned him the trust to go through this entire season, through the trade deadline, and what will eventually be into the playoffs as Edmonton's starting goalie. I mean, there was a lot of fans who were asking for the Oilers to go out and grab John Gibson or Karel Vejmelka or somebody like that to be a 1B, or in Gibson's case, perhaps even the starting goalie. And Edmonton's front office ultimately decided it's going to be the exact same duo that took us there last spring is who we're going to give the opportunity to again this spring. And like I said, I think it's that performance against Dallas, specifically in the Western Conference Final, that ultimately gave the Oilers and their front office the confidence to give Skinner another run at the Stanley Cup.
Because hope will never die, Coomzy. Come on now. Stuart Skinner's also in. He says, this is my team. This is my city. This is your boys. Thanks, buddy, for the hype up. We got your back, Stu. We're going to be optimistic here till the whole way out. Let's go now quickly. Let's do the Dallas lineup, brought to you by Greta Bar, my favorite spot in the entire city. Arcade, bar, street food. We going to be there tomorrow night. And it's also a late one, so we're going to be shutting Greta down. Like I said, we're getting after it, confirmed by one Tyler Remchuk also, who has Tyler has hit the first goal scorer in each of the last 2 games. I told him he needed to text me about who he's going with. I just got the text in from Yaremchuk, so we will get that in Bordzy's bankroll. But pull it up for me here. Patrick, if you would be so kind. Top line for the Dallas Stars, Mason Marchment with Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. Second line, Jason Robertson with Matt Duchene and Mikael Granlund. Third line, Jamie Benn with Wyatt Johnston and Evgeny Dodonov. Fourth line, Oscar Black with my boy, Sammy Steele. He's the only one that you are not allowed to hate, and I take that very seriously. He's a great guy. And then Colin Blackwell rounding out the fourth line. Deep pairings, Thomas Harley with Ilya Lyubushkin, Esa Lundell with Cody Ceci, Mr. Game 7, and then Liam Bichelle with Matt Dumba. Coomzy, we'll just go here. You look at that forward group. It's absolutely loaded. Depth on depth on depth. Who is your player to watch tonight? Which is basically, who's an anytime goal scorer bet you got for the Dallas Stars tonight? We're not actually going to do it because we would never do that. That's kind of blasphemy here in this show. But out of that forward group, it's loaded. Who's your player to watch?
I was actually going to go with a D-man. I was going to go with Thomas Harley as the player to watch from Dallas, just because I didn't really know this player very well before the Four Nations. I knew there was a guy on Dallas named Thomas Harley. He was a first-round pick, and he was a top 4 D-man. I knew that was about the extent that I knew about this guy. And then I watched him play those games for Team Canada, unexpected games too, and I thought, damn, there's a defenseman on Dallas who I did not know was this good. But my anytime goal scorer, and this is sort of a risk as choice, but it kind of feels inevitable because of the former Oiler curse. It's going to be Cody Ceci for me. I feel like Cody Ceci is going to bury one on the Oilers tonight.
Cody Ceci is currently plus 1,600 on Bet365 for an anytime goal. Just a little sprinkle action. I'm not going to do that because that's just crazy to me, but I do understand your angle because it happens all the time. For me, my player to watch, I'm just going with Wyatt Johnston because it still amazes me that this dude is 21 years old. He also just signed a 5-year, $42 million deal at 21 years old with an AAV of $8.4 million at 21 years old. God damn, some kids just 21. Do it right. And I look at myself, who's 8, 9 years older than him, not doing anything close to that, but he's an incredible hockey player, dude. 26 goals, 63 points in 70 games. So he's 7 points below point per game at, once again, 21 years old. This guy just shits out goals. Not a big deal for a 21-year-old. The other guy I'd say Mason Marchment has just always been a player I've really, really liked. I like the way he plays. He's just got that sandpaper. He's got that grit. He'll fight you. He'll throw the body, but he's also got hands. He's also got a pretty nasty shot and kind of brings a little bit of everything, obviously playing on that top line for the Dallas Stars. But it's time to talk bets, people. It's time for Bordzy's Bankroll, brought to you by Bet365. Breaking news from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the app and use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 years or older. Please play responsibly. All right, there you get a look at it on your screen. This is what we're rolling with. Your first option, Jeffrey Scotty Skinner to get 3 shots on goal, plus 125. He's hit this line in each of the last 2 games where he's been playing without Connor, without Leon. He's got 3 goals in his last 2 games, and last 2 games he set season highs in ice time. It was 17:06 in the second last, and then 18:38 Saturday against the Seattle Kraken. Jeff Skinner, see you in the chat. He says, pick mine, guys. So there we go. The next one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Darnell Nurse to get 2 blocks. It's minus 220. I don't care. I'm letting it ride, and we're going to keep rolling with it because Darnell has 9 blocks in his last 3 games. The man is just a shot-blocking machine so far this season. And then finally, to Jake Wallman, anytime point, plus 165. He has points in 2 straight games. So who knows? He also played 22-21 in the last game, like I mentioned. Played more than Bouchard, played more than Matthias Ekholm, and I will report to you that Tyler Yaremchuk has hit it back-to-back games for his first goal scorer of the game, and tonight he's got Jake Wallman for his first goal scorer of this hockey game, so that makes me feel pretty good about 1+ point on the screen right now. Coomzy, parlay these together. It's a nice plus 700. So I do like that, 2 of them with pluses. But if you look at these bets, which one do you like? And thoughts on Wallman, first goal scorer from Tyler?
I like that. That was actually, I was going to go with your Wallman bet as the 1 point, as the one that I was going to go with as well. It feels like if the Oilers are going to score some goals in this game against Dallas, probably some offense is going to come from the blue line. So I would expect to see Jake Wallman either scoring a goal or putting up a point or 2.
Yep, I see some people in the chat. Yep, they're looking for Wallman. Paul says we want Bubble Hyman. Yep, that's true. Who doesn't want that? Wallman could get the power play point. You know, as I mentioned earlier, though, Dallas, the number 1 penalty kill in the entire NHL. So without 97 and 29, that was not an area I wanted to go. Southpaw, Hyman's going to score tonight. He's got 3 goals in his last 3 hockey games. Amanda, Scotty hat trick tonight. And then Leon Draisaitl said bankroll without Nuge is a sin. Mm-hmm. And I do feel you there. I understand that. But because there's no 97 and no 29, they're all about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Now, if you wanted 2 points for Nuge, 2 points for Nuge this evening is plus 300. That's incredibly juicy. But once again, taking on the Dallas Stars, I'm a little curious. I'm a little concerned. Who put it in there? Jeff Skinner. What was Jay's bet? Absolutely everything, because it was plus 20,000. So Jay's swinging for the fences with every single bet from here on out. And he's doing so responsibly.
He's got Cody Ceci goal on there for sure.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of everything.
Kasperi Kapanen anytime goal, Cody Ceci anytime goal,
Victor Arvidsson shots, Jeff Skinner
Stuart
shots.
Skinner anytime goal.
Yeah, honestly, there's a little bit of everything in here, but got a couple of minutes before we head out. I mentioned it earlier. We're giving out, actually, first, Pat, let me do the super chats, because you people in the chat, you thought I was forgetting about the super chats. Reminder, all your super chats are in support of the Ben Stelter Foundation. They do awesome things for families dealing with kids with cancer. They do awesome things for research. They do awesome things for just the families to get magical experiences, and all your money is going directly there. Tammy, the queen of the super chats, tip my hat to you, says pregame super chat for luck. We got this. Heart stick taps for Ben always, and our cup year. And then Paul is in with 740. You see what he did there? Pizza 74. Time for some hot stew. And then let's do it out now. I mentioned beginning of the show, I could have done trivia. I could have done whatever. But if you want to come and you're in Edmonton, you want to come to the What Chaos event going down tomorrow, I'm able to give out 3 sets of 2 tickets. So without further ado, Patrick, spin that wheel. We threw in the people here that we see are able to come to Edmonton and hang out with us and have a good time. Looks like your odds are pretty good of your odds of getting one. So the first winner, Mr. Lubrication. Come on, email Kennedy at thenationnetwork.com, and then she will get you hooked up. She will send those to you. I don't know if we can take him out or just keep spinning the wheel. God, I love the wheel. It's absolutely exhilarating. Oh, Justine, you can come now. You get 2 tickets to the White Chaos event tomorrow. Shout out Justine. She's on my volleyball team, and she hits the ground more than anybody on my volleyball team. Shout out you, JB. And then finally, we're going to go with Mackay and Dry. You're the final and third winner. Once again, all of you, email Kennedy at thenationnetwork.com. She will then get you set up and she will send you the tickets for tomorrow. I see Mackay and Dry's in and says, yo, not to be outdone by Justine's. Hey, Simple says high quality graphics. Brother, you never been to wheelandnames.com before? You think you're better than wheelandnames.com?
That's what I do all day.
Whenever you're with your buddies and you can't decide on anything, go to the wheel. The wheel is just, you cannot blame the wheel. And also it's just electric. We also do the horse races where you can put all your names to be horses. That's what we do all of our fantasy drafts as well. Highly, highly recommend that. But that will do it for us for pre-gaming. We went over by 2 minutes. Don't worry, you still got 18 minutes before they expect to drop the puck for this hockey game. Get your coffee pot on, get a Red Bull, get a beer, do whatever you need to do. Get set for this hockey game. Shout out to our sponsors, Sherwood Ford the Giant, Sherwood Power Sports Marine, Greta Bar Yeg, Bet365, Wheelhawk Beef Jerky. And I mentioned it off the hop. Happy Pride Night to all those out there. The Oilers logo, I don't know if you saw it.
It looks sharp.
It looks fucking sick, dude. Whoever does the art for that is awesome. They also did the other one, the Dia de los Muertos. Pretty sure I said that correctly.
Day of the Dead.
That logo was sick. Shout out to the Oilers graphics department. Shout out to Pride Night. Everybody love everybody. Everybody be nice to everybody. And on that note, let's go win a hockey game. Let's go win some bets. We'll be live right here on the ON YouTube channel right after the hockey game. Coomzy and I are trying to keep our eyes open as it will be a late one, but I love you all. I appreciate you all. Throw down your like before you head out. Get in the After Dark chat. Good luck, everybody. Peace out. Over and out. Talking a bit.